Welcome to Hidden Hilltop Homestead. Today I'm going to be talking about how I price my rag quilts. Now I have a nice little handy dandy chart that I'm going to show you in a minute that's going to have information of the sizes of my rag quilts and the approximate cost and what my base starting price is for my rag quilts. And then I also have a video I'm going to link here, and that is for how I actually sell my quilts. It's got a little bit more information of what I do process wise. So if you want to check that out, you absolutely can. But let's get into the numbers. So we have two parts here. The top is the measurements of all of the quilt sizes that I make, and the bottom is the costs and prices. Let's go over the costs and prices because I know that's why you're here and watching this video. So on the left, there is in red the costs. I have a video I will link here, and that is how I calculate the cost of my quilts. I actually break everything down into a per square cost, and that's how I calculate this number. If you make quilts, you might look at these numbers and think, wow, that's incredibly low, but to each their own. I shop a lot of clearance fabric. I buy a lot of wholesale fabric from people who are getting out of sewing or just getting rid of fabric. And I have a lot of stuff gifted to me because a lot of people in my community know that I make quilts. So I'm able to keep the cost of my materials very low. Shopping at stores such as Joann Fabrics, Michael's, Hobby Lobby, looking for remnants, or even just thinking outside the box when it comes to sourcing your materials can help you save a lot of money. That cost includes the front, back, batting, and thread for all of my quilts. It does not include any type of equipment usage or equipment costs, and it also does not include shipping. Now, if I have to ship a quilt to somebody, the customer is paying the shipping fee and the cost of the packaging if I had to buy something versus reuse something that I already had. The green column is the base price of each quilt. So, for example, crib quilt starts at $90. That is for a quilt that is a generic fabric. It is quilting cotton on the front, flannel on the back, and then I use warm and natural batting. And then I buy all of my thread from Hobby Lobby. It is 100% cotton thread, and I'm getting, I think it's like 225 yard spools at 99 cents each. I charge more for a few things, such as custom sizing. If somebody wants a specific applique design, or even I've had some people request iron-ons for customization. Embroidery, that's something that I'm going to be offering this year once I get a little more familiar and comfortable with my embroidery machine. Things like premium fabrics or licensed fabric, or if they want to put a different material on the front or the back, that also changes the price. And as you can tell by the chart, the larger the quilt, the more expensive the labor becomes, just because it takes longer to put together a larger quilt. I live in a rural area on the eastern side of the United States. It is very much in the country, and that also is a factor when it comes to pricing. I obviously want to make money with these quilts, but I also don't want to price myself out of my customer base. So again, another reason that I keep my costs so low is so that I can sell these quilts for a decent price and still make money. My most common size, the one I'm making the most of, is the throw size. I have done a queen, I have done a twin, and I have done a couple crib size. Mostly throws, though, is what people are requesting. And the 120 price point is just the start. A lot of stuff that I make ends up being about 140, 150. So far this year, I have had 5 orders put in. I've had one carryover from last year that was started at the beginning of this month. And then I've made one quilt that I wanted to do just by design, and that was the Valentine's quilt. So special orders are making up a huge portion of my business now, and with special orders comes special pricing. So again, these are just starting points for the pricing. If you want to take a look at that top table, that is the measurements of all of my quilts. I do crib through California King. I have not made a California King. However, that is the size of my bed, so I'm going to be making one for us. And it's going to be these measurements, and I will definitely take you guys along with me on that journey because I know it's going to be pretty fun. So the first column, we have the quilt size, and then the measurement. The 8 by 11 in the crib is 8 squares by 11 squares, and these are all 6-inch squares. It's 88 squares total, and the approximate size is 40 by 55 inches when it's finished, washed, and ready to go out the door. That last column is the amount of fabric needed for one side of the quilt. So for the front, I would need 2¼ yards. On the back, I'd need 2¼ yards, and then the batting's probably like a little bit under 2 yards if you were to do it by the yard. I buy my batting in, I think it's like the king size measurement, 100. I think it's 108 or 120 inches, and then I get it by the yard, and I get it when it's on sale so that I can, again, keep my costs low. These are just custom measurements that I came up with. I started with like the approximate size of what a regular finished quilt is. You can just Google or go on Pinterest and find charts other people have made up with what approximately the size of a quilt should be based on the size of the bed. And then from there, I calculated how many squares per yard and how many squares per row. And if you make rag quilts and you're wanting to do different size squares, obviously you'll just have to change around your calculations. But that video I mentioned that talks about the cost of a quilt, I do have some math calculations in there that could help you figure out what numbers you're looking for. I think the best way to price anything is to obviously include your costs, but also make sure you're paying yourself fairly and you feel compensated for the time that you're putting into your project. If you want to do a little market research, you could go to some local craft shows or vendor shows, or farmers markets or whatever, and see if other people are selling quilts, what they're charging. Or even if you can find people who have Facebook pages, quilting services, and just kind of see how much they're charging per quilt or general size in your area, if that's something that you're going to be doing locally. If you're going to be selling online, you can always check other platforms or look at what other people are doing. Just remember, not everyone has the same overhead. Not everyone has the same profit margins. Not everyone has the same skill set as far as like labor costs and things like that. So just, do a little bit of research and make sure that you are covering your costs and compensating yourself. That's the main part. I also would not really suggest trying to undercut other people in order to get business. Just charge what feels right. And I know that's a very hard number for a lot of people to come up with. Like, I want to make these and I want to sell these, but I just don't know what to charge. But put out some feelers. When I started making quilts, I was only charging $80 for the throw size. And then after I think I made 2 of them, I was like, man, I need to charge a little bit more. So I added an extra $20, and then now it's another $20. So just, start somewhere and then adjust. You don't have to keep your pricing forever. You don't have to worry yourself to death of, if you think you're being compensated fairly. I would just kind of test the waters. Maybe, if you set your prices and you're not getting a lot of action or responses or any type of interest, maybe you're a little bit high. If you get overwhelmed with orders or maybe you sell out really quickly, you might need to add a little bit of value to it. So just kind of, take a leap of faith with what you have. If you have any friends who are in the business, or even if you see other people, even on YouTube, who make and sell quilts, just look for videos of people for pricing information. And I know a lot of people, just money in general, a lot of people keep things hush hush when it comes to like crafting businesses, but I feel like talking about stuff openly, being able to start a conversation, is very helpful for people who are interested in getting into the business. So if you yourself sell quilts or really any type of like quilted craft, leave a comment. Let us know like what your journey was as far as figuring stuff out, or if you are currently selling stuff and you're having success with it. If you have any tips for other people or any type of information that you would like to share, leave it in the comments. We'll have a nice little discussion about our little quilting businesses. And thank you so much for checking out this video, and subscribe to see more content, I put out vlogs mostly, but I do some how-tos and some things like this, informational stuff once in a while. But again, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye!